Hey guys, it's Bridgette with San Diego Seed Company, and today I'm going to talk about cool season seed starting and specifically how to germinate your seeds in zone 9 and 10 when the weather is really hot. Alright, so if you've ever started seeds in zone 9 and 10 in the fall, it can be really difficult. You gotta baby them, and there are a few things that you have to know to be successful to start all of your cool season crops in zone 9 and 10. I'm gonna get into that into this video, so stick around. Now, if you stick around for this whole video, I'm gonna explain to you how you can germinate seeds in very hot, unpredictable weather in zone 9 and 10, which is the first and most important step in starting your fall crops. All right, so this is part one of fall seed starting, and the first thing I wanna cover is why are you starting your seeds in the fall when it's so hot? Well, it's something called the fall effect. We have tons of videos and information on this, but the basic idea is if you wait until it's really cool in zone 9 and 10 to start your seeds, they're not going to do anything because the days are going to be too short. Now, I've already planted my first round of cool season crops. Let's go look at them and see how big they are because the days are still long. Come on. Perfect. You can just like zoom through this and make me look like a Zoom walker. So, we have brassicas, broccoli, cabbage, and cauliflower that's already been planted, and they're huge. And they are growing so fast because the days are still long. If you wait until November or December to plant your seedlings, guess what? They're gonna stagnate and they're not gonna do anything. So start them now and you'll get the best crops going into November, December, and January because the days are longer. Key tip here, shade cloth. It's still hot, you're gonna need to protect your babies. Okay, so when should you be starting your cool season crops? In zone 9 and 10, you start your cool season crops as early as late August. I know it's hot, but again, it's because we want to take advantage of the longer days of sunlight to get them up and growing. Now, in August and September, it's hot, and you're gonna wanna baby them as much as possible. You can see I actually have these started underneath the shade of a jacaranda tree. And I have multiple tables along my property where I will move these in and out of sunlight depending on the temperature. Now, if you're looking for specifics, so in our calendar, we actually point out exactly what you're gonna plant. In August is when you wanna start your seedlings of broccoli, cabbage, and cauliflower. They take a long time to grow, and because they do, you wanna start them the earliest. Then as we continue into the fall, you can start doing more and more of your cool season crops, like your lettuces, your leafy greens, your root crops, so on and so forth. Every single month, we're gonna list exactly what you need to plant. So it's all here for you in the zone 9 and 10 calendar. When we are starting our seeds in the fall, the hardest thing to do is to keep the soil moist enough, but not too moist. Now let's get into the how we actually do that. First things first, the most important thing is you have to use a high quality seed starting mix. Now, there's a million different kinds on the market. This is the one we sell and that we love. Here's the thing that you need to know. It needs to say seedling mix. It needs to say either seed starter mix, propagation mix. The whole point of those products is to do one thing and one thing only. It's to get your seeds to germinate, which is what this whole video is about. I'm not going to talk about how you get them up to this big, beautiful size. I'm going to talk about how you get them to emerge from the soil, which is germination. The key thing is using a high quality seed starting mix because it's going to hold in a lot of moisture. This time of the year, it's hot and it's dry, and if your seed mix dries out during germination, the seeds are not going to germinate. That's really important. The other part of that is that your seedling mix can hold so much moisture that you do have to watch out for algae. That's a key sign that you're watering too much. Now in part two, I'm gonna go into that in depth, but just know that if you see green soil, it means you need to back up on your watering. All right, so how do you do it? I've got good high quality seed starting mix in this pan here, already pre-moistened. I'm gonna put this in our cells. You can use any size. We really like the 6-pack size. Remember, the bigger the cell, the more moisture it can hold, which is really important this time of the year. Once your trays have good seed starting mix in it, you have to pre-water. What does that mean? Use a bottom watering tray and put water in this tray and let these sit in the water for at least 6 hours, if not 12 to 24 hours, to guarantee that this is fully moist. Now these are going to sit in here until I can guarantee that there's moisture all the way through these and it's actually soaking through the bottom. At that point you can pour the water out of this tray because you don't want them sitting in there for really longer than 24 hours. That's when you get a lot of bacterial and fungal growth that's not good for the seedlings. All right, so pause. So we're going to do the whole turkey thing. You're not really going to show this, right? Okay. Now, this is the moment in cooking shows where it's like they bring out the fully cooked turkey. For the sake of the video, I've actually watered these on top and I have water going all the way through. But what I recommend at home is you just sit them in here. Don't rush this process because, as I mentioned, the #1 thing in starting your seeds in the fall in zone 9 and 10 is making sure the soil is moist enough that the seeds can actually germinate. If you've come to any of our seed starting classes, you know the way in which I recommend starting seeds is by placing the seeds on top of the soil. The reason being is you get much better germination when you put the seeds on top of the soil and then you place well-sifted soil on top of that versus making a hole and then putting the seeds in there to die. We don't want to do that. Now you'll notice I'm not putting 15 seeds per cell. I'm putting a max of 2, which I'm going to thin down to 1. Too many seeds per cell means crowded cells and unhappy plants. You'll notice I tried to put 1 in each corner to make it easier. Now I get to do the fun part, the sifting, okay? You want to take soil that is dry. So I'm actually going to open this up here. Mailman's here. Can you, grab the scissors that are on that table? Hey!
How you doing?
Good. So it's always helpful to reserve some of your seed starting mix in the dry form because then you can sift it on top of the 6-pack. Now you'll notice this is very finely sifted soil already and I'm making it almost like a powdery dust on top. And I'm doing that because that's going to allow the seeds to germinate very quickly without being inhibited by anything. You can see the larger particles, the sticks, those were kept out of the topping on top of the seeds. And so it only gets the best finely sifted soil on top. Now the biggest question I get is how do you know how much? Well, you don't want to see the seeds. You want to make sure they're fully covered. And the reason why I recommend this is because there's way more room for error. Even if you put way too much soil on top, it's so fine and it's been sifted to a point where really even if you put twice as much as it needs, it will still germinate quickly and easily. So now people ask, well, how do I water next? Do I water on top? No, that's the whole reason why you have this bottom watering tray. You will actually just add water to the tray. Now I'm going to set it back into that water, clean water, so that it continues to suck up moisture. And there's so much moisture in these cells that the top will eventually become totally saturated. A key part of making this work is you need to make sure your table is level. If my table is leaning one way or the other, then the water is all going to go to one side of the tray. And you'll notice you get uneven watering. That's actually a common mistake people make. I will talk about that in part 2 in depth. The next common question I get is, well, how long should I wait? Every single seed pack on the back says days to germination, and that's a rough timeline of how long it should take if you've planted the seeds correctly. So I'm guessing I'm going to see these pop up in about 5 to 6 days. Once they've popped up, then I can start part 2 of seed starting, which is caring for my baby seedlings. So there you have it. That is the things that you really need to know to become an expert seed starter in the fall in zone 9 and 10. Look, we recognize it's not easy and it's taken me years to hone this skill. So we want to know from you, when is the earliest that you've started your fall crops, your brassicas, your root crops, all of your leafy greens in zone 9 and 10, and what are some tips and tricks you've learned along the way that can help make us better and that we can share with our viewers. So make sure you like and subscribe our channel so we can help garden with you in zone 9 and 10. Okay, so remember, if you're going to start your seeds in zone 9 and 10, it's hot and it's dry. And the two biggest factors that you have to think about is moisture and sun, okay? Seeds need sun to be happy and to really grow and not get leggy. But during this time of the year, you got to temper that sunlight as best as you can with either natural shade, like under a beautiful jacaranda tree like we do, or by putting up shade cloth. I know it sounds like a lot, but a little bit of babying and every single season it will get easier as you know what to look for. And also you can stick around for part 2 where we go into troubleshooting for those fall seedlings. All right, so now's the fun part. You get to pick out the seeds that you're going to start for this fall. Well, remember, we have a calendar that tells you exactly what to plant month by month. I'm telling you, it's the best thing I have for you to hold your hand every single month. So check that out so that you know what to plant from now all the way until next year. Next, what seeds you're going to be planting. So I've got a bunch of them, and look, we make it so easy for you in zone 9 and 10. On the back of the pack it says cool season, so you know that they're seasonally appropriate. We're in cool season now. Here's 3 of the crops that I'm most excited about. Our new pelleted carrot seeds, which are really heat tolerant, hence the name Miami. One of my favorite spinaches, kookaburra, an amazing spinach, and our alpha calendula, which is a great medicinal flower for your garden.